guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. We are out here in the middle of nowhere in Baltimore, Maryland for the first drive of this vehicle right here. What the heck is it? It's the all-new 2024 Hyundai Kona. Our particular one is the top limited trim. But before we get into this smaller size crossover SUV, let me give you a little bit of a Hyundai history lesson. So it was Y2K all those years ago, 23 years ago now. When I say that, it really makes me feel old. Hyundai came out with their first crossover SUV. It was known as the Santa Fe. Fast forward to model year 2024, the Santa Fe is getting a redesign and really growing into its own, but also there are other key players in their lineup. Everything from the small venue to the big boy Palisade, and then of course we have right above the venue, which is the Kona. Now for a while that was the entryway into Hyundai's crossover SUVs until the venue was unveiled. We were there, you were there with me at the New York Auto Show back in 2019. Venue still exists, but now it's the Kona's turn to get a redesign. Now, what's fascinating is that this smaller subcompact crossover SUV class has grown in size. And so with it, also the size of what these subcompact crossover SUVs now represent. You look at the Volkswagen Taos, you look at the Dodge Hornet, you look at the Corolla Cross. Many of these once small SUVs have now gotten a little bit larger, and so too the Hyundai Kona. So what I want to find out is, if you're looking for the best new small size SUV, is this the only way to go? And is it worth the price? At the end of the day, going Kona Limited, that's the top trim. Let's go ahead, let's dive in and find out. Right off the bat, you're gonna notice a more grown up appearing Kona. And I mean that in a good way. It's almost 6 inches longer and about 1 inch wider. Now, at the front of the business, I'm very proud of the designers, how they kept not only the Kona look alive, but also kind of brought it forward with a lot of the other redesigns in Hyundai's lineup. So you'll notice we have LED lighting. Nice to see on the top trim. You got that horizontal triple LED beam turn signals. You got your LED headlights. I'm actually digging this angular headlight housing. Let me know how you feel about it. I'm actually liking the direction. You know, once upon a time when you would do these split setups on the lighting, it kind of looked a little goofy. This really is fitting it nicely, especially with what I'm going to show you in a few seconds. Now, you'll notice some flat satin black and a little bit of this aluminum finish. And then on the limited trim, you're going to get these decorative triangle shapes. I'm going to zonk it. And the reason why is not because of the way it looks. I wish this part was functional, either be a functional vent, or how about this? Here's something crazy. You ready for it? Triangular LED fog lamps. That would have looked cool. You know it would have. Let me know how you feel about that in the comment section. Now, as we drift across, I want you to follow my finger because we have LED daytime running lamp from one side clearly to the other. And then as we kind of come back down, I love the nice low coefficient drag slippery shape at the front. We got a forward facing camera on the limited trim. And you see this flat black? These are active shutters that open and close. And what's interesting is that normally the shutters are behind the grille. I don't know of a vehicle besides EVs where the shutters are on the exterior portion of the grille. When those open and close, that's going to look pretty neat. Love the silver finish on the bottom, and you have more functionality because guess what? We have an intercooler peeking behind there. Steven's going to show you that aluminum intercooler because we do have a turbocharged intercooled engine. Now, as we rise up, like I said, that nice curved shape everywhere, but it doesn't look like a jelly bean, which is great. That low drag coming into the hood is gonna make this very slippery. And if you're wondering, well, Joe, it almost looks like an EV. Well, guess what? They actually designed this based off of the new redesigned Kona EV. So you're gonna see a lot of connection there between the ICE, which when I say ICE, I'm not talking about Lipton iced tea. I'm talking about internal combustion engine, and the BEV, the battery electric vehicle version of the Kona. Now, when we come around the corner here, You'll notice how we kept that very unique style to the fender flares. And I kind of like the way they did the smooth, flat black finish rather than the textured. It actually makes it look a little bit higher end, and I like that. Speaking of high end, you're gonna get these 19-inch wheels, and just like other Hyundai vehicles, they got the geometric shape, triangular, very, very cool looking on the wheel, 19-inch wheel, 235 on the width, and then you have a 45 series sidewall. They retuned the suspension. This is on chassis 3, K chassis generation 3, and you could get a front wheel drive or all wheel drive. Speaking of that, ours is all wheel drive. We have over 8 inches of ground clearance. The only other vehicle in this class that has more is the Subaru Crosstrek. Think about that. Mind-blowing, over 8 inches of ground clearance. Now what's interesting is this wheel looks so good, it almost looks like it came off a Volvo. I feel like the Volvo wheels are very close to the design, but I think that's a good thing. This really brings a nice high-end feel to the Kona. Now coming down the side, you got those angles, you got the triangular shapes. Same thing within the doors, the body lines. I think one of the things that's pleasing to the eye is this is not as geometric as the Elantra. So the Elantra's got a lot of extra creases and folds and lines. This is a little bit cleaner. Color match on the mirror caps, 360-degree cameras on the limited trim, and LED lighting. I love this aluminum trim just along the bottom, and it actually flows into the rear spoiler. You got that flat black roof rails. You could get crossbars. We got an oversized sunroof. And then you'll notice how they just went nice and simple with that smooth flat black on the bottom. Working our way towards the rear. Nice design into the fender. What's great is, just like up front, we got full LED lighting. Brake lights, turn signals, and reverse lamps. And then lighting all the way across. Now, on the Limited, you're gonna get this specific wing that has the silver trim built in. I love the way they integrate. It almost looks like a toggle switch for the third brake light. You do have an exposed wiper. Every subcompact has an exposed wiper, so I'm not gonna zonk it. Love the way they're just doing the Kona names, super clean, nice and flush. You got 1.6T, that turbocharged engine with H-Track. That's Hyundai's all-wheel drive. And then working our way all the way down, they kept it simple, and I like it. Nice aluminum style with the paint, but they didn't have to put any fake vents. Thank you, Hyundai, for not putting the fake vents in the lower rear bumper. But why don't we go ahead, let's pop the hood and talk horsepower of this new Kona. All right, guys, we got the hood popped open. You do have hood struts. Underneath the hood is that carryover engine, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. What do we have? It's a 1.6 liter turbocharged inline 4 that's producing 190 horsepower, 195 pound-feet of torque. If you go SE or SEL trim, you still get the naturally aspirated 2 liter that is 147 horsepower, 132 pound-feet of torque. But in this Limited, guess what? We have a new transmission, 8-speed automatic. They got rid of the 7-speed DCT, 0 to 60 in about 7.9 seconds. We have the H-Track all-wheel drive. The vehicle weighs around 3,400 pounds. You can get this also front-wheel drive if you choose to do so. MPGs, 24 in the city and about 30 on the highway, 0 to 60 in about 7.9 seconds. Now, it makes sense that they went carryover with the engine. Nice to see a new transmission. That makes sense to me, getting rid of the 7-speed DCT. And if you want an EV, you could have your single motor Kona, all redesigned, that has 201 horsepower. But we'll talk more about that when we do the first drive of the EV. But guess what? We got a good old internal combustion engine. Let's fire up this Limited Kona and see it roll out of here. Hi guys, how you been? Come on in. We're inside the 2024 Hyundai Kona Limited trim. Now I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I once drove a Kona 5 years ago and I kind of got sick on how small it was. It was so cramped. I didn't like it. Are you sure they changed this enough on the interior? Well, guess what? I'm sorry that you got sick. That happens to me sometimes. But you know what? They made some big changes with this Kona to the point where it's bigger. But I know you want to find out what the price is, because yes, the price is a little bigger. MSRP for the way that this one is optioned is right around $34,000, but this is the top trim. Let's see what you get for the money. To the door panels. I like the way that this has the lighter interior. Now the good news is that it's going to be easy to clean because there's a lot of hard plastic. The bad news is you're not going to want to rest your arm anywhere because it's hard plastic, but it does really make the interior much brighter in here. No gloss material. Door pocket is a good enough size for about, I would say, 3 small apples that you could go over to the stables and feed the horses. And of course you could have a bottle of water in case any of them are thirsty. You got the Bose sound system. And then going from the door panel to the dash, I do like the way they integrated the AC vent. The textured dash is nice. It's just, it's hard plastic. But remember, we got to compare apples to apples. See what I did there? Because of the price point that we're in. Now you do have the ability to put 2 Renaissance Festival turkey legs in here. Those big, huge ones. That's one of Steven's favorites. You can put 2 in there, and then you slide on in. We got an all-new infotainment system, 12.3-inch, full touchscreen capability, native navigation. You got all your usual apps, displays, very intuitive, very quick reacting, as you can see. Look. See that? So very nicely done. You could then go back home, and that's where we started. Let me throw it into reverse. We got a backup camera, pretty clear resolution, 360-degree camera, and then of course we have our trajectory. You could hit this little guy right here. There we are. We're at the farm out here in the middle of nowhere in Baltimore, Maryland. Put it back in the park, and that's where we started. I could hit home here. Voila. Working our way down, you got real knobs, controls, dual climate control. I like this silver trim. This looks really classy. They actually now have a column shifter, electric shifter, for going in the direction you need to, reverse, drive, park, and neutral. And then working our way down, 2 USB-Cs. You still get a 12 volt. And then you close it up like that, wireless charging. You got a place to put some, I would say, maybe some of those small York peppermint patties. There's your Hyundai key fob. How do I know it's a Hyundai key fob? Because it's actually the design of it. You got tons of storage space, ventilated seats, 3 stages of heated seats, lock the center diff with the all-wheel drive and your mode selector switch, tons of storage. You could put a Nerf ball here or 2 drinks, more storage for a couple cupcakes, Hostess cupcakes, and then you could of course put all your coins for your change collection up top, and then the seats. Nice soft material, nice and light. Love the bolstering. I'm gonna zonk that it's manual control for the passenger, electric assist for the driver, and we have that oversized power shade sunroof. But why don't you come over to the business end? I want to show you behind the wheel of this Kona. All right guys, business time behind the wheel. You do have your power seat controls, especially that lower lumbar, easy to get to. I like the way they shape all the switch gear. I'm 6 feet tall, and I love the space that they brought into this new Kona. Steering wheel, leather all the way around, nice design. They're doing the Morse code just like on the Ioniqs for the letter H, 4 small dots, flat black on all the switch gear with some silver. You do have paddles to go up and down that new 8-speed automatic. It is a manual tilting and telescoping steering wheel. And then you have that all new digital display. Now what's great is when you go into different modes, looking like sport, you get the racetrack curbing, you have normal, but who the heck wants to be normal? I like the way you got the curbing. You could go into snow mode because of the all-wheel drive. We're gonna leave it in sport. You also have the corner cameras. Because we have the 360-degree cameras, you have those great blind spot monitoring cameras, and you could scroll through a cornucopia of information in the center as well. But very nice the way that they did the screens. You don't get a lot of glare, which is perfect, and it flows nicely with a lot of the new vehicles that they're bringing into their lineup. But why don't we get in the back seat, because I think you're going to be blown away by how much space there is in this car. All right, guys, this is where the designers and the engineers really wanted to make it comfortable for the passengers, the backseat passengers. Plenty of headroom, plenty of shoulder room and leg room. And I like the way you sit really nice and a little higher than the front seat passengers. That really makes me feel good. And like I said, I'm 6 feet tall and I don't feel cramped like the old gen Kona. No pocket behind the driver. That's something to think about, especially if you have a pineapple that you have to hold on to. You do have your rear AC vents, which is great. And you have 2 USB-Cs and a place where you could stand up one Twinkie in there. I have this cargo net and it's really, I mean, maybe I could put a couple pieces of paper from Dunder Mifflin back here. There's really nothing else I could fit back here. So just something to think about when you're carrying around things. You might just be able to keep some sheets of paper. That's about it. But other than that, the materials match what's up front. You pull this bad boy down. It's semi-soft, not the softest, but maybe it'll break in as you're leaning on it a little bit. I'll break this one in for you if you're gonna buy this Kona. 2 cup holders. But why don't we go ahead, let's get in that cargo area because I heard big things come in small packages with this new Kona. All right, guys, with the extra size, just like you have extra room for the people in your life that you drive around, we have electric assist on the rear lift gate, limited trim only. What's wonderful is you're gonna get a great amount of room for their junk to drive around. So how much space do we have now in this longer and wider Kona? You're looking at 23.5 cubic feet of space with the seats up, 63.7 with the seats down. If you want to see the seats down, I'll leave the review of the N-Line that we did at the end of this one. Plus, I'm also going to leave that link because there's something magical that you could do with this rear cargo shelf. But I'm not going to tell you. I want you to watch the N-Line review at the end of this one, the Kona N-Line. What's great is you do have a cargo floor, a couple extra Maronis. That's the official name for a window sticker. And you could also do some things with the floor, which I'll show you where in the Kona N-Line review. Click it at the end of this one. But you know what? I'm hitting the button. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go giddy up and see how this new Kona Limited drives. All right, guys, we're inside this 2024 Kona Limited trim. This is the top dog. And what's nice is when you go limited, you could get the lighter interior like we have, or you could go with the darker interior. The way they set up all the switch gear and the screens is really spot on the money. There's no kind of like having to look around the steering wheel or something that's out of reach. Everything makes total sense in here. I'm gonna go ahead, we have it in sport mode. We're gonna go on throttle so you can see it in motion. On throttle, here we go. So with the 8-speed automatic, it's actually a little bit peppier feeling than the previous gen with the 7-speed DCT, even though we still have the 1.6 liter turbocharged engine. With the 8-speed automatic, it shifts smoother and you have that more instantaneous takeoff sensation. On throttle, here we go. All-wheel drive works great. You got your blind spot cameras when you use your turn signals. Really, really nicely done on how all of this is wrapped up together very nicely. You got your dual climate controls that I could get to very easily. Down below, I love the easy access. A lot of times manufacturers like to hide the USB-Cs. It's like hide and go seek, and they don't want you to be able to charge your phone. Hyundai has them smack dab where you want them. Wireless charging, and then the fact that this is a subcompact crossover SUV, and we have 3 stages of ventilated seats, 3 stages of heated seats, and 2 stages of heated steering wheel. There's not many other competitors that have that. Maybe one that I could think of off the top of my head. But coming to this little circle area, we're gonna go on throttle again. You ready? On throttle, here we go. So what you're gonna find is when you're in sport mode, that's gonna quicken up the steering sensation, that's going to quicken up the throttle sensitivity, and of course, change how the engine and the transmission behave with one another. When you Want to get out of sport? Real simple. And I like the way everything shows up on the screen, so you actually don't have to look down at anything, which is awesome. We have our adaptive cruise control, which is easy to set for whatever distance you want. It just makes easy work of the whole driving experience. And this is something that Hyundai is really doing well in their vehicles. It's just making them very easy to use, but yet you have all of the great technology that you want. With the new retuned suspension and the chassis, it rides really smooth. They've actually increased the sound deadening material to keep that noise and vibration out of the cabin, and you're quickly going to notice that right away. And then whether you have a short distance or a long distance, they actually redesigned and reinforced the frames for the seats up front, made them thinner for the backseat passengers to not lose backseat volume, but yet they're more comfortable than the previous one. So you're gonna get that because of that redesigned seat frame, the extra comfort for those longer drives that you're gonna notice right away. But going down this road, very smooth. The ride is not harsh. You can see how, you know, we have the adaptive cruise and everything set very nicely with this, and it makes easy work. And if you want to shut it off, it's easy to turn off. It's just not a big deal operating this vehicle, and I really, really like that. And then if you want to go back into sport mode, we're back into sport. It's that simple. Guys, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the paddle. So you actually have a gear indicator at the top. I'm in second gear. It also shows at the bottom. Are you ready? On throttle, here we go. So you're gonna get a little quicker acceleration sensation by using the paddles. I like when you get close to redline, the actual tach numbers turn red. The readout turns red, which is kind of nice as well. But like I said, from a handling standpoint, from a cruising standpoint, and definitely a room standpoint, with the roominess of the interior, this Kona definitely outperforms the previous gen. The big question is, in this subcompact class, we got some big players. The Volkswagen Taos, the Kia Seltos, Toyota Corolla Cross, Honda HR-V, Nissan Kicks. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Chevy Trailblazer, Chevy Trax, Buick Envista. So it's going to be interesting to see how people, the consumers, speak with their wallets. But I hope this has been a quick, nice overall review of this redesigned Kona. We're going to get back to where it all started and wrap this one up. So I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been another fun-filled day out here in the middle of nowhere. You know what? Definitely got to thank the whole Hyundai team for inviting us out here and getting us access to the new Kona so that we could bring it to you. Let me know what you think, though. Has Hyundai done the Kona right? Have they made the right changes to really make it that standout in the subcompact crossover segment, especially for the money? Let me know down in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Ladies Rise family. Of course, we need to thank Stephen Flood Photography. He thinks he remembers being out here when he was a kid at one point, feeding some apples to some of the horses, because we're at this horse ranch. He thinks, he's not sure. So we'll have to dig deeper into that memory. Thank you, Stephen, for sharing a bit of your past and your hard work. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.